Hi, Nollen here. Thanks for joining me. In this video guitar lesson, I'll show you how to change the strings on your electric guitar, particularly if you have a Strat style electric guitar with a vibrato bar or a floating bridge. Your strings will age gradually and need periodic replacing. Even if you do your best to keep your hands clean before playing, clean your strings after playing, if you keep your strings in tune and store your guitar in an ideal climate, your strings will wear out. Your strings should last about 3 months. They may need replacing sooner, they may last longer, depending on several factors, including how corrosive your fingers' perspiration is, how much you sweat, how you clean your strings after playing, how much you play, how hard you play, and the environment you keep your instrument in. Your strings have an elastic property to them. In time, they'll lose their ability to stretch and hold an even tension along the length of the string. Symptoms of this problem are the strings will be stubborn to tune, they'll be difficult to keep in tune, and as your strings age, they'll lose their shiny color, they will appear duller, darker, and noticeably tarnished in places. The tone quality of the string will sound duller. As your strings tarnish over time, they'll feel rougher also. Now, if you're ready to change your guitar strings, I'm going to show you how. The first recommendation that I have for you is to take your guitar to either a professional guitar technician, a luthier, or a guitar teacher to have them recommend the proper string gauge for you and your guitar. If you choose to replace your strings with a different gauge than what you have on your guitar, then your guitar may need adjustments to correct for the change in string tension. And for that, you can go to a luthier or a guitar technician for any adjustments. Or if you stick around, I'll show you later on another video how to do that. If you select a string set that is similar or identical to the strings that are currently on your guitar, then we'll proceed with changing them here. Before we begin, have the following tools ready. Your set of replacement strings, a peg winder or string winder, a microfiber cloth, soft cotton cloth, mineral oil or lemon oil. Yeah, you might see this sold as fretboard conditioner also. 4/0 steel wool, or sometimes called a finishing grade steel wool, wire cutters, and for a little extra maintenance we'll use a small Phillips screwdriver and a pair of pliers may come in handy. And depending on the manufacturer, a 10mm nut driver can come in pretty handy too. Okay, the first thing we're going to do before we change the strings on this guitar is to take the vibrato bar out of the bridge, and in this case this will unscrew counterclockwise. Your guitar may have one that pops in and out. I think you can see pretty clearly there by the ridges how that works. Next thing we'll do is remove the old strings off this guitar, and the way we do that is to take them off at the headstock from the tuning posts, and you can do that by loosening them one by one by finger, or if you have a peg winder or string winder, you can loosen them that way. And the way I do that is pluck the string that you're about to loosen and unwind it until it won't produce a pitch anymore, until it's completely slack. And continue doing that. Loosen the 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string, and the 1st string. And there we go. Next, we take our wire cutters and cut the strings just in front of the bridge, somewhere between the pickups, like so. And I'm going to hold them down on this side so they don't fly away. And just snip them one at a time. And there we go. And we'll take all those together. Hold them together and spin it around once, twice, through, and again. They're a nice coil that keeps them together that way so they don't fly away. Then I'm going to unravel them one at a time, carefully and slowly, from the tuning post on the headstock. And you want to be careful not to pull or yank on that too, because those ends are quite sharp. They can go through your skin like a hypodermic needle if you're not careful. So, little slow and gentle unraveling, little tug, that's all you need. There. With all the strings off at this end, we'll go to the bridge. Now, if you take a look at this guitar in particular, one thing that separates it from, say, a stop tail piece or like a Gibson electric is that they're not going to come out from this side. Rather, they'll come out through the back side there. So what I'm going to do is push those through, and that should come right out the back side like so. There, fifth string and fourth string, third string, second string, and again, be very careful because those things can go right through your skin like a hypodermic needle if you're not careful. And your first string. And sometimes they can be stubborn to remove out from the back end. And if you need to, this is okay. You can take a Phillips screwdriver, undo spring plate cover, and remove them from the bridge plate on the back side with this off. That's okay. Now, with the strings off the guitar, we can do a little maintenance on this. In all those hard to reach areas, you can get in with a microfiber cloth. Get any extra dust or dirt or oils off of there. And by the way, I personally do not recommend using any cleaning agents, polishes, or anything like that. A microfiber cloth, a little rubbing, is all you really need. All right, a little maintenance we're going to do on the headstock. A couple things I want to do is check the tension on the tuning buttons here. If they are either too tight, too tense, or too loose, you can get in there with a Phillips screwdriver, just like so. Tighten it up. If it's too loose, or loosen it up counterclockwise if it's too tight. And it shouldn't be to where you have to struggle to get it to turn. It shouldn't feel like it's rusty either. You shouldn't be able to just tap it loose. If that's the case, you want to tighten that up, of course. And these are all feeling pretty good to me, so we'll leave those alone. Something else you want to do, if this fits, a 10mm nut driver works pretty good. You can set that right over top of the tuning post and make sure that those are tight and tense. And you don't want to wrench down on it with a lot of force. A little pressure goes a long ways. And this will help to keep the strings in tune, by the way. There we go. Now, That's that. Next, a little fretboard maintenance. And with that, we're just going to get out a 4/0 steel wool and take that side to side on the fretboard and just take that in a zigzagging motion up the fretboard and then back down with a firm but gentle rub. You don't need to put too much pressure on this. You don't really want to grind them. And then along with the grain, up and back down the fretboard. And you may not see it here on the video camera, but that takes a lot of tarnish right off the fretboard, particularly with the frets, and gives them a little bit of a cleaner shine to them. Makes for a bit smoother play also. And should there be any very tiny particles that your strings could catch on, gone now. Now also you'll see, you may notice on your guitar that if you get a lot of little metal flakes on the pickups, since they're magnets, of course. You can use compressed air, you can blow on it a little, otherwise just a good clean cotton cloth or microfiber cloth again to take that right off. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off any excess dust that may be lingering there. And next what we'll do, use a little fretboard conditioner or a little mineral oil. Apply just a dab to a soft cotton cloth and right on the fretboard, just like so. And you can take that straight up and down the fretboard. And remember with this, a little goes a long ways. All right. And with the same cloth, you can use the dry side or a separate cloth if you need, of course. And take off any excess oil that is still on the fretboard. And again, I'll reiterate this. Little goes a long ways. You don't need much. There. Okay. With all the maintenance out of the way, we're going to install the new strings. This is the string set that we're going to be using. And by the way, this is just a string manufacturer in a set that I like a lot. And you may find a different brand, you might find a different gauge, you might find a different set, and that's okay. Whatever works best for you. All right, we'll open them up. And one thing I like about these sets is that they're very clearly marked which string goes where. If you notice the ball ends, all color coded, color coordinated. Okay, in this case, with the floating bridge, we're going to install the strings one at a time. You can start anywhere you like. We're going to start with the first and second strings and unravel them from the package gently, like so, pulling them gently apart. You don't want to tug on it too hard or put a lot of force, put any kinks into the string. And the first string, you can see right there. May not see it so clearly. We'll go into the first hole. And up through the bridge on the front of your guitar. You can pull that all the way through. And we'll continue on. Second string. Right through the second hole. Should come. All right. There you go. Just pull that straight through. Okay. Third string into the third hole. Straight through. And pull it out. Fourth string in the fourth hole. And pull that straight through. Fifth string in the fifth hole. All right. Straight through. All the way. And your sixth string. Sixth string to the sixth hole. Straight through there. And thread it all the way till the ball end catches. All snug and secure. Now that the strings are securely set into the bridge, I'm going to take them and secure them at the headstock. I'm going to do this by taking the end of the string. We'll start with the first one. Line up the hole in the post, thread it directly through, and pull it all the way tight until you've got about a finger's length, about 2 inches distance. Pinch that off, measure it, bring it back, hold it, and then with either your fingers or a string winder, a peg winder, begin winding it. First time you wind it, and by the way, you notice I'm holding this, guiding it with my first finger and holding a little tension with the other hand so that it's going to go only where we want it to. And this is going to go over top of itself the first time, and then once it gets there, you can just push that up and out of the way while still holding a good amount of tension on the string, and then guiding it underneath itself in a downward spiral. And you can guide this, and if your guitar has a flat headstock, you may have a string tree. You can guide it directly underneath it there. And keep winding it. Make sure it's going through the nut. And you want to bring it up to where it's making a pitch. Doesn't have to be perfectly in tune. There it is. But as long as the string is making a pitch, you've got enough tension. We're not going to worry about getting it perfectly in tune yet. We're going to stretch the strings, prime them, and before we get them set to play. For now, we'll keep winding. Take the second string there to the end. Thread that directly through tuning post hole. And again, about a finger's length distance, or about 2 posts distance. Bring it back, and that's the excess string we'll wrap around the post. Holding it and putting a little tension on it. Guide it over top of itself once. Push the excess string up and out of the way. And then guide it underneath itself in a downward spiral. And then under the string tree there. And the reason we do that, if you look at the shape of these tuning posts, you'll know that they are concave. They curve in the middle, like so. So that once these strings are being fed through, once over top of itself, other times underneath, that when you pull tension on it, that concave feature will allow those strings to compress on themselves, hold themselves a lot tighter. See how that's doing it just right there, huh? This way, when you get it in tune, it'll stay in tune. We'll show you another trick to get it to stay in tune a lot better. And again, you don't have to bring it perfectly in tune yet. All right. I'm going to leave those pegs straight up and down just to make room for the peg winder. Line up the hole, third string, third string through this third tuning post, and about a finger's length distance or so. Now, ideally, they should wrap around about 3 or 4 times. A little bit more for your treble strings, for your unwound strings, and a little less for your bigger strings or your wound strings. And again, notice I pull that over top of itself once. Take the excess, move it out of the way. Guide it with one finger while keeping tension the other fingers so that it goes just where we want it to go. A nice, tight, downward spiral underneath itself. Thread that through the nut slot. There we go. And on to the wound strings. Fourth string, right through there. Pull that all the way tight, about 2 posts, about a couple inches distance. Bring it back. Wind it over top of itself while guiding and holding tension. Now move the excess string out of the way and guide it in a nice tight downward spiral underneath itself. And even with the thumb over here, I can guide it directly through the nut slot. All right, fifth string. Make sure to line up the hole in the post. Thread it through, and a little less than 2 post distance there. There we go. Excess string up and out of the way. Thread it through the proper string slot in the nut. And if you just heard that little popping sound, what that is the winding of the string catching at the bridge. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. And the sixth string. Line up the hole and the tuning post. Thread that through all the way tight. And a little bit less than 2 posts distance. Measure it back. Hold that. Wind it. Put tension on it. Guide it over top of itself the first time. The excess string up and out of the way. And continue to guide it underneath itself. Thread it through the string slot in the nut. Good enough. We'll prime the strings here in a bit. For now, get the wire cutters, and you can clip off the excess strings right up to the tuning posts. There we go. Now we're going to prime the strings. And the first step in that is finally bring it in tune. If you have an electronic tuner, that's great. If you've got a piano to tune with, that's great too. I happen to have one here, and we'll use that. First string is going to be tuned to an E, just above C. Second string to a B. Third string to a G. Fourth string tuned to a D. Fifth string to an A. And the sixth string to a low E. Okay, and they don't have to be absolutely exactly perfectly in tune yet. Close enough is close enough. Because what we're going to do next is grab it right about the 12th fret or so and give it a little bit of a pull, a tug. You don't want to yank on it and break it right away, of course. A little tension is good. And a firm but gentle tug. Along the length of the string here. You can do this with all the strings. And if you're a little bit reluctant to tug it right up out of the nut slot, or the string slot in the nut, take it and wiggle it back and forth, side to side, across the fretboard. And if you're a little bit nervous about them popping out, you can certainly hold the strings down right there, about first fret. And again, just grab this right about 12th fret, give a little bit of a firm but gentle wiggle back and forth. This is a very important step in getting strings to set themselves in tune and to help them stay in tune. There we go. And we're going to bring this back up to pitch. And if you can hear the difference, there's an E on the piano. There's the E and all the slack that went into that string. You hear how far it's been detuned. If you haven't done this priming or stretching stage yet, or if you haven't done this step yet, and you brought your guitar up to pitch, new strings on the guitar, and after some time you find out that you can't keep the strings in tune, I bet you this is the step that you missed right here. So otherwise, this string would be stretching and slacking over the course of hours, days, before it finally set in tune. And what we're doing is just setting it immediately. So we're going to bring it up to tune again. And you'll certainly find that some strings will slack more than others. That one in particular slacked a lot. And that's okay. Also, if there happens to be any loose ends at the headstock or at the bridge, that'll pull them right where they ought to be. We're going to prep this one more time, and rather than grabbing it at 12th fret and wiggling it side to side again, I'm going to grab it about 5th and 15th fret and just give it sort of a back and forth wiggle like so. And from this angle, it's a little hard to see. It's almost as if you're rowing or pedaling with your hands in a very slow and gentle motion. Very small motions there. Just give them a little wiggle a few times. And again, you may want to hold the strings down right about the 1st fret too. And we'll check the tuning again. And you'll probably find that after this stage, there's probably very little slack that went into the strings. And here in your tuning, this is where you want to be a little closer to fine or a little closer to perfect. You want to get this exactly in tune. There you go. Okay, this guitar is set up, strings are good, and it is ready to play. If you have any other questions about the setup of the guitar's neck or the truss rod, or if you have any questions about the bridge, saddles, their adjustments, pickup heights, or any other electronic repairs for an overall guitar setup video, you can check out one of my other videos in the series, Electric Guitar String Change. And for that, you can get some information on setting up your guitar. For now, this guitar is already set up, and it is ready to play. All right, here we are, fresh new strings on a clean guitar. This is ready to play. Thanks again for watching. I hope that these tips have been helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me here, russell@russellnollen.com. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Until then, take good care, my friend.